My parents got divorced when I was about 11, 12, and that was gnarly. You pull up on their little train station and there was a bloke there. He looked larger than life. And there's blokes getting hammered, blokes were vomiting all over the place. I remember waking up with this cut across my eye, blood down my face, vomit all over the floor. But if I can stick it out, and I like that. I think I just had a turning point where I went, I can't do it anymore. And he walked up to me and he went, I went, all right. And he went, what's your name? And he went, Chocks. And he went, don't speak until you're spoken to. When you say, they say jump, you say how high. And I was just like, now, this is when it really hit home. As we walked off the flight deck and there was like, hey, AD, I'm reporting live from the BBC. And I remember looking at it just going, oh, shit. That was a surreal moment. And then it just escalated from there. I was just patrolling BASRA and now I'm civvy. That can't be it. That to me was a massive turning point.
This week on the podcast then, I have a former Royal Marines commando who now does boot camps all over Essex and elsewhere. We'll get to that in a bit. Glynn, how are you, buddy? You all right?
Yeah, good, mate. Good to meet you.
Good to see you.
Yeah.
All right, great to have you on board. Thanks. So, look, I don't know if you've watched my show before, but what I do is I'll drag you back into your childhood, kicking and screaming. We'll find out a little bit about who you are, what made you, and then we'll talk about what you did, where you go, and what you want to do next.
Yeah, happy days.
And that's it. So let's go back to where you're from and what was your childhood like?
So I was born and raised in Essex.
Okay.
I've got
Essex to the core then.
Essex to the core, yeah. As we were discussing earlier, it's probably not a good thing these days because I have a common accent from what I've been told.
Yeah.
Essex born through and through. My childhood was pretty all right, really, to be honest, up till a point. And then my parents got divorced when I was about 11, 12, and that was gnarly. It was horrible.
Did they go at each other? Did they always?
Yeah, I mean, I shouldn't laugh. I have to laugh about it now, don't you? You have to laugh about these things. But I can remember like my mum sitting on the bonnet of my dad's car, and he always did all right for himself business-wise. He had a old 944 back in the 80s, and she had a load of pebbles on the bonnet, and she went, "If you come near me, I can scratch the bonnet up." I remember looking out the window as a little kid, just going, "Oh my god." So that was quite hilarious.
Did it have the vent in the bonnet? Was it the one with the vent? That was the better 944. Just gauging how posh you really were.
Yeah, not that posh. Not that posh. But no, it's, I mean, apart from that, that was...
What were you like at school?
Shit academically, but sporty. Like sports.
So what was your sport? Did you football, rugby?
Everything. Rugby was the main one.
Right, okay.
Yeah, rugby my main one. I did every sport. I always laugh and go, if it was America, I was the jock. Do you know what I mean? I did everything. I was just really into it. It's what I excelled at, really good at. Like athletics, like back then, you know, back in the day when you actually got a medal for coming first.
When you was allowed to win,
not participating. I would be the one that won the medal or the trophy at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So I was always really sporty. And then I went to trials for Essex for rugby.
Okay.
And then I got into martial arts. And then I got picked to fight for Great Britain for martial arts.
Oh wow! Okay, so you were hitting levels as well.
I was shit academic. I didn't enjoy it. Do you know what I mean?
I just didn't understand it. I could never make that fit that. Do you know what I mean?
No, I had the attention span of a gnat. Do you know? I'd sit there and I'd just be, after about 10 minutes, I'm like it now.
Whatever.
Yeah, my business partner now, if we're in a meeting, he just sits here, he goes, "We need a tea break," because he's gone, and I'm just like,
yeah.
I just zone out.
But
physical stuff, I'm in. So I
boring.
And I always credit my martial arts instructor to getting me like mentally fit for the military because he was fucking ruthless.
Really?
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
So it was like polish on, polish off.
Yeah, sticks hit. He used to beat you with a stick.
Really?
Yeah, like he used to
on your forearms and stuff, blocking and all that sort of stuff.
Didn't hold back. And
really?
Yeah, if you got into a scrap at school.
That's old school, that is. Surely they don't do that now. Do you know what I mean? Nowadays all the martial arts are sort of like, you touch me, I'll touch you.
You're probably not allowed to. It's just feathering around the head, isn't it? But no, back then, like if I got into a scrap at school, my mum would wouldn't tell my dad. She'd be like, "I'm ringing Andrew." I'm like, "Shit, don't." So next time I went to the club, I'd walk in. He's like, "So you've been fighting at school?" I'm just like,
Yeah.
And he'd line you up in front of the black. He'd line you up in front of black belts. He's like, "You ain't that tough. You don't do that around here. You keep it in the club, and you'd get your ass kicked.
Wow.
Like literally, you'd get your ass handed to you." And it just installed discipline, and I just loved that. Absolutely loved it.
Yeah, I think it makes or breaks you, doesn't it?
Yeah, 100%.
And I think discipline, self-discipline in particular, is one of the necessity qualities in life for anybody who wants to achieve anything.
Yeah.
Because you've got no self-discipline. If you can't trust yourself, you're on a loser, aren't you?
100%. Yeah, and kids don't have that so much these days.
No, I don't think they're taught it. They're not shown it, are they? They don't.
Yeah.
There's not showcased to them in a way they can understand.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
So, did you get any qualifications? Did you do anything like that?
I went to college and I did a. I always wanted to join the Marines. It's like when
Did you do cadets or anything like that?
No. I joined the TA for about a month.
Yeah.
And I sacked that off because the bloke was an absolute.
What cat badge was that, by the way?
Royal Signals.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was an absolute, like, I won't say what he was, but he said to me, why have you joined the TA? And I wanted to get some experience to join the Marines, and he went, you'll never make it.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that's fuel to me.
I just went like that. I just went, yeah,
fuel.
Right, see you later. And I just sacked that in after about 4 weeks. I thought, this is arse. So I did college, I did that, I tried that, because I just wanted to get a bit of experience. And then, I did college for 2 years. You know, I did all right. That was a public services course. And to be honest, the only reason I did that is because I didn't want to join the Corps at 16. I wanted to kind of go out on the piss for a couple of years.
Yeah, I get that.
I didn't want to go straight into it from school. It was something in me that just knew I needed to grow up.
And that couple of years you had, did you keep up with the sports and all that sort of stuff?
Yeah, I did, yeah. And then that's when I had to turn to running, because I was a sprinter. I was never a long distance runner. And then when I decided I wanted to join the Corps, I was like, I need to sack the sprinting off and start doing some endurance.
Yeah.
That's a lot you've got to do. And that's all I did. Just ran.
Really?
Constantly.
So the Essex's version of Forrest Gump.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. Any hill that I could find, I'd run up it.
Boy? Run, Forrest.
It was just old school. Like when it snowed, my attitude was go and run.
I ran.
Just go and run. Just keep running. Just keep running.
Oh, mega. So why the Royal Marines? Is there a history of something like that in your family or anything like that?
No. To be honest, I can vividly remember them coming and doing a careers day at school.
Okay.
They walked in, and the commando display team, I mean, they probably picked the units for a reason. Yeah. These lumps walked in. To me, I was only, 15 at the time.
So they bung each other around the mat and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, they looked like Man Mountains. Yeah. Like this was in 94, 5. And I remember sitting down.
You make me feel really old when you say that, because I'd done my commando course back then.
Did you?
Yeah.
About time.
I'd already done Livingston.
I feel like a young one for once. They walked down. I just remember looking at them, just going, look at the size of them, like massive lumps, green lids, and it was like, longest, hardest basic training. I just went and the statistics of failure and all that, and I was just like, that's a bit of me.
Yeah, the 1% thing was all in them, wasn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Just appealed to me.
State of mind.
Yeah, it just appealed to me of I reckon I could do that. I'll give that a go. And then from that point onwards, that was it. I was just focused on that.
So did you, other than that visit, did you know anything about the Royal Marines at all? Or was
Nothing.
It just literally,
Nothing
right,
whatsoever.
Yeah, you look good,
Literally,
I'll have one of them.
That was it, yeah.
I'll do that.
Whatever they did to sell it to me, sold it to me.
Yeah.
Because it's the way they literally said, it's so hard, most of you won't pass it. And I was just like, well, I'll have that. I like a challenge. I'll have a bit of that. I'll give that a go. They weren't wrong, but I'll give it a go. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and that was it.
Yeah. So you sort of you do your bits and pieces at college. You go straight from college straight to Livingston?
College, yeah, straight down there. Yeah. Did my PRMC in '99, joined in 2000.
How did you find that? How did you find turning up at Livingston? Sort of did you go down on the train?
Yeah. It's, when you turn up on bottom field.
Yeah.
Nerve-wracking. Like, guys that have been down there know. You pull up on their little train station, and there was a bloke there with a green lid, and I just remember thinking, he looked larger than life.
Yeah.
You walk up that hill, bottom field, and there's fucking blokes getting hammered, and you're just looking around just going, oh my God, what am I letting myself in for? And 30 minutes into the PRMC 4-day selection was like, blokes were vomiting all over the place. They were like, the warm-up lasted like 2 hours, and I just remember thinking, this is horrendous. But if I can stick it out, and I like that, do you know what I mean? And then
in the gym on your spot,
on your cover, on your spot cover, So got a hammer doing that, and then they take you into the room where they separate two groups, and you're sitting there shitting yourself, thinking, have I passed? Have I failed? I don't know, because you don't know, do you?
No.
And that was it. And then all of you sat in here have passed, and there was like less than 50% of the course on there, and you're just thinking,
really.
Right, yeah, and then
did you weigh yourself up against other people, thinking if he's doing all right, I'm doing all right?
Right, so. This is what I try to say to a lot of young lads now. I went down there with a cocky, arrogant attitude.
Yeah.
And I don't mind admitting that now I'm 43 years old, but I went down there with a cocky... Because I was, like I said earlier, I was a fit lad at school.
Yeah.
And if I put my mind into something physical, I always did well at it. Yeah. So I kind of went down there with this attitude of, I'm going to cream this.
Yeah.
Talk about humble pie. Do you know what I mean? Because there were lads like 16, I was 18, lapping me, and I'm just like, all right, I'm not the fittest bloke here then.
Yeah.
And I'm hanging out, and there's blokes going past you like you're standing still, and you get humbled pretty quick because it doesn't matter how fit you are. Eventually, it's going to catch you up, isn't it?
Yeah, of course.
So
it is, yeah.
I think that was quite a shock.
It's the strength element as well, isn't it? You know, on the ropes and the bottom field and all that sort of stuff it's a game changer, but it's also a big leveler as well, isn't it?
Yeah, massively.
So, all right, you might be able to do 100 metres in 9 seconds, but do it with a pack on and get up that rope, and you're like, oh, hang on a minute.
Well, that's when it all becomes the mindset, because there was a lad in our troop when we started training. He was 18 years old, Welsh lad, and his dad was on the front cover of running magazines. So he was nicknamed the Welsh James Bond because he was like this really well-known fell runner from Wales. Yeah. And his son was this like really good mountain runner, and he was 18 years old. And he was, this is back in, 99, 2000. This lad was absolutely chiseled. I mean, you know, in the showers, all lads are looking at him going like, oh, he's gonna hammer us all. And he was so fit, PTIs were getting tanked because he was lapping them. He was that fit.
Wow.
However, within 2 weeks of the first exercise out in the field, which is like 1 night, 2 nights, wrapped it.
Yeah.
Couldn't handle it. Couldn't handle the sleep deprivation. Couldn't handle the rash.
That's it. I mean,
outside,
you know, would become couldn't handle the rash.
Yeah. Ticks up your nuts. Yeah. He couldn't handle it. Yeah. And that was like, for us, I think everyone was going, well, if he can't take it.
But that happens in selection as well. You get guys turning up, they're twitching like racehorses.
Yeah.
And you think to yourself, what am I doing here? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, they're the ones that are falling by the wayside or can't hack it or just need another protein shake when it's like, you know, what's the matter with you?
Well, the thing is, if you're too conditioned to eat, drink on a regular basis, that's where you fall foul. I'd struggle now because I eat regular and like hydrate and all that. I think if I try to go through all that now, my body would be like, fucking hell, having a laugh, mate.
Yeah.
Like,
so, can you think of anything that stood out in training? How did you find training? Did you enjoy it?
I don't think you can enjoy it. Like, people that turn around and go, I thought it was enjoyable. I think they're talking out their arse. Like, you can't enjoy it. I think there's elements that you can look back on now and go, oh man, I wish I'd taken it in more. Like the Ridgy Raiders, the boat stuff, all that. Like the Cliff Assaults, that's all Gucci stuff. That's all fun. Yeah. Like, everyone enjoyed doing that. But you know, the night stalks and like navving like as the crow flies through like all the gauze and that. That's honking. Who likes doing that? Nothing pleasant. I think what stands out for me is I think I just had a turning point where I remember ringing my mum. I was 18 years old. I went, I can't do it anymore. She's like, why? And I went, because nothing's good. Physically, I was doing all right. I never failed anything. But they were breaking me mentally because it was the car. So they come in to do a room inspection, and you'd spend so long cleaning that room, like you could eat off the floor, and they'd walk in, open the window, run their finger down the run of the window and go, dirt. And you're like, oh, really? I'm not going to clean in that, are they? Like, you're dirty then. You're like, no, Corporal. Like, well, you are, aren't you? And you're like, yes, Corporal. Out the shit goes to the window. And you're just stood there thinking,
yeah. Next minute, it's all on the mud.
Yeah, and they're like, why is your locker door broken? It's not, Corporal. He called me a liar. You're like, no, Corporal, break the door. You're like, really? You're like, it just gets in your head.
Yeah.
And that was wearing down on me, I think. And then she just went, I remember Mum going to me, that's the point. They're trying to break you. Don't let them do it. And then I remember doing a night nav X and I remember getting in my slug and I remember getting all the checkpoints, getting in wet and dry. I was, so cosy. And then suddenly the Corporal Knocker White, he was a fucking ruthless bloke, he was. Screamed and shouted. We all had to get out, put our wet kit back on because lads had been caught using roads rather than going as the crow flies. And he's like, who was it? And he just stood there and I'm gibbering away, just going, you're fucking joking me, aren't you? And I remember Bergen on press up vision. I remember it clear as a day. He was walking up and down us. And he's like, you're in for it now. And it was like a switch gone in my head. I just remember looking at him thinking, I don't give a shit anymore. Don't care.
Yeah. Do your worst.
And it was from that point on. Yeah.
You pussy.
Whatever you do, I couldn't give a shit. Yeah. And that was it. It was from that point onwards. I just didn't.
Once your mind does get that stage of anything, selection included, any arduous course I've ever done, once you break that thing of saying, well, actually, no, you're not going to make me pregnant, and you're probably not going to kill me. Yeah. So I'm just going to crack on with this. Do you know what I mean?
But you've got to want it.
Yeah.
But that's the point, isn't it? Like this is why I always roll back to kids now. They don't want it enough. You see on social media, like
well, they want route from there to there,
100%,
without going through all that.
Exactly.
So they want to go. They almost want to warp it, don't they? Do you know what I mean?
Because you've got social media now, and you see like all this amazing edited footage of like SF lads, Paras, bootnecks, all doing all this Gucci. I look at it and go, that looks good fun. Yeah. But they forget there's a horrendous journey a very long, painful journey to get
yeah,
there. You know, and we didn't have all that back then. It was just sign a dotted line, turn up, and just take the thrashing.
Yeah,
you know. So
you did pass out first time?
Yeah, as an original.
Okay.
Which is funny, isn't it? Because you don't think that's a big deal until you're in and you realise that's a big deal.
It is a big deal, yeah.
And then you get to a unit.
Any course, it's a big deal.
Yeah, you get to a unit. First thing they ask, are you original? You're like, yeah. And they're like, good. You don't realise what a big deal it is.
No, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. It's quite a big deal.
Yeah.
So where did you go when you finished?
So I ended up at 4-5, and because I fucked up my own draft.
That's right up in
Scotland,
isn't it?
Yeah,
Arbroath.
Arbroath, and they have a reputation of their own of being a bit rogue.
Yeah.
And when I got to the end and I was putting my draft in, I've just been typical solid bloke. When you tick your boxes where you want to go, I don't know how I done it, but I must have put in a tanks course, because when it got to the end, they tell you where you're going, Glynn Roberts anti-tank course, and I was like, no, I put in 40 Commando down south, Sunshine Unit. I was like, and they're like, no, you didn't. You put in tanks. You're going tanks course. I was like, joking me. And then so yeah, I did a tanks course, which is actually quite a good laugh. Do you know what I mean? Like I did enjoy doing that.
What was it, Milan in there?
Milan back then.
It was still Milan,
yeah. Fire by wire.
Yeah, yeah.
Tracking. There's a cable doing that. I mean, how archaic does that sound now? But there was no 50 cal, nothing like that. It was just Milan.
Right.
So we did that, and then, and for somehow I managed to come second on the course, and the top 2 guys on the course got to choose the unit they went to go to. Where do you want to go? I was like, right, it's my chance. 40 Commando. They're like, brilliant. Got a driving licence. It's like, no, I had it revoked. Right, excellent. Off to 4-5. I was like, fuck off. You're joking. They were only taking drivers, tanky drivers.
Wow.
I was like, oh, so I went to 4-5.
Okay.
I rocked up.
What was it like up there? Did the reputation was it earned?
I was more nervous walking up there than I was walking into Limpston day one.
Really? Just because of what you'd heard about?
I absolutely shit myself. Like, genuinely, like it's like I get nerves thinking about it now, because I walked in, and the unit was in Kosovo at the time. So I was going to get deployed out to Kosovo, but then they were like, no, there's no point. Might as well keep you on rear.
So you might as well be the massive crow when they all get back.
Exactly.
And they've all done stuff and you've done nothing.
Mate, honestly.
And they've all got a medal and you ain't got 100%.
one. You should have seen the death. I met them. I met this. I got given my grot. Walked into the room. This lad walks in that I was sharing a room with, and he walked up to me and he went, I went, all right. And he went, what's your name? I went, told him, who are you? And he went, Chocks. Chocks. He went, short for chocolate. He was a black guy. And he went, my first day at Zulu, gave me a shield and a spear. And he went, enjoy Zulu. And I was just like, fucking hell. Like, this was like years ago. I was just like, oh, fucking hell, Jesus Christ. And I rocked up to Zulu Company and everyone just stared at me like that when I walked in. They're like, have you had a joining run yet? I was like, no. They're like, brilliant, we'll see you next week then. It was just...
Really? So you were a proper crow bag? It wasn't... There was no... No sort of like, oh, all right, mate.
No.
It was just straight crow.
Yeah. It was like you said though, because they just come back from operations as well, they was all like,
mate, they're all tight and tight, aren't they? You can't get a cigarette paper in between people when they just come back from something like that, and rightly so.
It was this new bloke, and I'm just like, I walked in like fresh rig, like that. I pulled in my lid sticking out like that. I was like, hi. I mean, wet behind the ears. They just stared at me like this. I can vividly remember it. And that was...
It's a real shock, that, because basically when you get to the end of your training, you are King's troop, you are the top boy, you are the troop everyone's looking up to, and all of a sudden, boom, you're now crowbag.
It's weird, isn't it?
Or whatever they call you in the range.
It's weird, isn't it? Because you go to the top of this pecking order at Limpston as King Squad, walking around we had pith helmets, so walking around that thinking of the dog's bollocks. Yeah, when you get to a unit, you're just a completely normal bloke again, like, because everyone's
but and if they come back from an operational tour, you're lower than the lower, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And I learned, because I was on rear party for probably 4-6 weeks, whatever it was. I got quite friendly with a couple of corporals, and they just said to me, when the lads come back, my advice is don't speak until you're spoken to, and like when they say jump, you say how high. And then the joining runs were like, there were lads like literally sleeping outside down the main drag, like, because if they didn't do as they were told, it was ruthless. Like, it's proper. Some of the joining runs, like, absolutely, it was old school, you know.
Yeah.
Like, even to the point where the RSM got the whole unit together and went, these joining runs need to calm down a bit because they're getting a bit out of hand.
Just drinking.
Just drink, you name it. Like, it's probably stuff I can't really repeat, but it was just like, it was fucking horrendous. It was bad, but it was their like initiation, like, welcome to the unit. And Zulu had one of the worst reputations for it, and it was just like.
Can you remember your night?
Yeah, not really, no. I can remember waking up. I genuinely don't remember much of it, but I remember waking up with like this cut across my eye, blood down my face, vomit all over the floor. And I just remember going to the med centre and they just went, good night then, was it? And I was like, not really, clearly. Look at the state of me. But that's the way it was back then. That was it.
And once you'd done that joining run, was that you more or less over the line, now you're going to be accepted? Or was it like, see you next weekend, idiot?
Yeah. It was accepted back then because I think, because I took that advice of don't speak to your spoken. Like if they said, we need someone to go and get whatever, a weapon, that I was volunteering. Yeah. Not because I was brown-nosing, because I just wanted to, like, show a bit of respect to the older guys.
Yeah, of course.
Back then, you'd have Marines, no rank, that had been in... There was a lad that was in the Falklands that was still a Marine.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, back then, they didn't have to go up the rank.
No, they didn't care either,
They didn't care.
They were quite happy where they were.
The camp hermits had just spent half their time in Thailand. You know, so like, but they did, didn't they?
You're in camp or you're in Thailand?
Yes, that's what they did. That's all they did. And the stories you'd hear, you'd be like, oh, what have I joined? This is horrendous. Little southerner, little blonde southerner from Essex, like, hi, anybody got a panda pop?
Pearly whites, like
yeah, they're like that. Jesus Christ. So that was a shock. And then I think I just did as I was told, and I got respect for that.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah.
So what was your first operational tour?
Operation Anaconda.
Okay,
which was
2001. That was the Afghan.
Yes, the very
first. It was after Tora Bora. When it was after Tora Bora, was it?
It was part of Tora Bora.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So it was an interesting one. So when 9/11 happened, I was at 4-5 and I walked into the grots, and one of the lads had it on telly, and I remember I went, "What film are you watching?" They went, "This is fucking happening." I was like, "Shit!" And at the time, 4-5 was spearhead for the UK.
Yeah.
So probably within a week, maybe, or 2 weeks, we went on a notice to move. They were like, pack your kit up. We were like, you know, and at that, people asked me, did you join to go to war? No, I didn't join to go to war. There was nothing going on back then. I just wanted to, I liked the sense of achievement. I thought I'd travel the world. Didn't think that would ever happen.
Maybe get the gym, bit of boxing.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You know, I'm very honest and go like, I wasn't war hungry because there wasn't anything going on. I never thought I'd like do that. So then, so that happened, and then we got told we couldn't move any further south than Carlisle, and then that got extended. Went home. I was at home at the time. Got a phone call, and it was the sergeant major. Went, get your ass back up now. So I had to jump on blagged an overnight train back to camp, and we went. Think back on it now. It was so bad. It was in this massive hangar, and every little lads queuing up. It's like, right, go in that hangar. There's loads of cardboard boxes. Go find some desert boots that would fit. Go and find a CBA that would fit the inner and the outer. A flak jacket, because we didn't have the shit they do now.
Honking things with little pockets
with
on them.
The stupid, like, the plate the size of a cigarette packet, do you know what I mean? So I remember going in, trying to fit them in, like plates into here, like second-hand, like desert boots. And that was the kit that we went with. And then, so then we got deployed. We drove from there down to Portsmouth, picked up HMS Ocean. There was only 2 units on Ocean. We sailed all the way down for a couple of months through the Suez and all that. That was good banter being on Ocean, to be fair. We got in so much shit on that.
Really?
Yeah, like, we were just bored. We were just bored. Like, yeah, like we were doing pot wash. We had to do pot wash, and then like you could see the officers' mess next door. So lads started throwing eggs through the officers' meds because they were like mess. They're just getting really bored. And then once you got a few beers, like lads got absolutely hammered. Yeah. Like you're doing fizz on it, obviously, like running around the flight deck. And we did a competition. It was the Navy versus the RAF versus bootnecks on the flight deck. This big fizz competition. That was good. Gibraltar, stopped at Gibraltar.
Yeah, brilliant.
Hands to bathe was quite funny because the HMS Ocean stopped in the middle of the Indian Ocean. And we're like, lads, you can all swim. And they've got all the landing craft out. And we were like, why is there landing craft out? They're like, shark watch. And lads are like, fuck that, I ain't getting in there. So lads would jump in, swim for 10 seconds, jump back out again because we weren't risking it.
Did you go as far as the equator? You wouldn't have gone over the equator on that one, would you?
No, we went Suez.
You do a little ceremony thing, didn't you?
Yeah, no, we didn't.
Line, didn't
no, we went all the way to Oman.
Yeah.
All the way around to Oman. And then...
Through Suez?
Yeah, through Suez.
Yeah, I've done that. Yeah. Suez is interesting, isn't it? That big old AK-47 thing hanging out the other bayonet or whatever it is.
It's quite a surreal thing to go through, actually, because you had to like stand too as well on the flight deck. Everyone had to be out on the flight deck. You're thinking, what have I got to stand here like this for? I know, it's quite a surreal moment. Yeah. And then we got then our sergeant major was Russ Craig, who was a ex-Falklands guy, absolute legend, ML. And it was like, this is like a really surreal moment because he got us onto the flight deck, and he just got us all together, and he literally said, look at the guy next to you. You might not come back from this. We're going to Afghanistan. And he went, phone home. And he gives me like pins and needles on the back of my head because I remember thinking, you what? Jesus Christ. And then the whole atmosphere on the boat changed, like completely. Then we were drilling.
Yeah.
And we got told that we were going to be...
So were you still anti-tanks now, were you?
Yeah.
Okay.
And by this point, I'd done like a 2-day, we'd just been introduced into 50 cals.
Okay.
So we'd just been introduced into them. So I'd done like a 2-day course on a 50 cal. They got brought on board ship and we were doing drills up and down the flight deck.
Wow.
Doing quick changes on the 50 cal, which pissed the captain off because we were like wrecking his flight deck.
Yeah, I bet you were, yeah.
Because the tripods got like spades on the feet. And they were digging in, clonking into the ground. And he got us up on the flight deck and he went, "Oh, if you won't come back from this." And then we had to start, because we got told we were going to start doing cave clearances. So we got, and by this point, we'd never been given this kit before. We got given lasers for the SA-80, monocles, and they shut the ship down. Yeah, that's when it
all becomes real, isn't it?
Mate.
So as soon as that gear starts turning up, you're like, hang on, we're doing something here, isn't it?
I just didn't, you know, I just didn't expect that. I mean, I know I joined an elite unit, but I never expected that kind of that feeling. It's hard to explain. And they shut the ship down, turned all the lights off, figure 11s all around the ship, and we were going 4-man teams down the galleyways and stuff, doing ship opening up, clearing rooms with blanks. All the matlows had to play enemy or hostage, and it's funny because it come over the tannoy. Like if you're playing hostage, play the game because they will fill you in. Like they just, Jen, if you play up, they will fill you in.
Jen, they will fill you in.
Yeah, we were just, and it's just going down, and that was a surreal thing because you know it's an exercise, but you're practicing for real.
Yeah.
And
it's always different. I've always said that if you're going to use your rifle the next day in a real situation, it's cleaner than when you're going to take it down the range. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's true, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? If you're actually going to be doing something with it, you are 100%
and
sure.
It's like your whole awareness is more because you're now. I've got to do this. I'm not just like going through the motions. I'm actually I'm like that now. My eyes are open. So we did all that practice, and then we docked into Oman, boarded Chinooks, and we flew out to Afghan. And as we went out with I think it was Paul at the time. So we landed, and this is when it really hit home. Because do you remember who Kate Adie is?
Yeah. I know her.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, I've met her a couple of times.
Mate, so she's like, if you say it now to people, they're like, who? Like, but everyone, she was the war correspondent of the day. Yeah. And someone came on the helo and just went, if you're they basically said, if you need to cover your face because there's press here. We landed in Bagram. As we walked off the flight deck, and there was like Kate Adie going, "I'm reporting live from the BBC," and I remember looking at her just going, "Oh shit." They were like, "Whatever you do, don't step off the runway because it's mind everywhere."
Pieces,
well, it just makes me go all funny now thinking about it because it's like this is mad. Like this is real.
And Bagram was nothing like it was later on, was it? It was literally just an empty airfield.
We put our own tents up, and filled sandbags. We had to put our own sandbags up.
Yeah. Yeah, I went up there in the early days.
That was. I think the only guys that had, the Yanks, they were different breed. All the SF lads there, them Aussie SF and the SB lads. They you could spot theirs. All their, what were the big grey things they filled with sand? I can't remember what they were called.
Oh, the Hescos.
Yeah. Theirs was like well high.
Yeah.
Like you couldn't get anywhere near the entrance to theirs, but ours was just open tents. Do you know what I mean? And that was a surreal moment, and then it just escalated from there. That job.
So you started getting briefings in there of what you were actually going to do. So do you remember the first time out the gate?
Yeah.
So
do you remember? It's quite well known. It's called Roberts Ridge. So there's about a Navy SEAL that got. I think a guy won 2 Medal of Honours on one job.
That's
as a
right.
Chinook got hit and dropped down. Yeah. That was our first job.
And he goes after him, then he gets down, and then
yeah. We found the Chinook.
Really?
That was our first job. So we got told that the Yank SF were going up to this mountain. So basically, the Chinook got hit, landed into the middle of a stronghold of Taliban, and got like mullered. And since then, I've watched all the footage from it. It's really weird watching it back and looking back at my own photographs and being there. And so we got briefed we were going there, and the Yanks were carrying about 80 to 100 pound of kit, walking, resting, because of the altitude. It's 15,500 feet, roughly. I think it was like that. At the time, it was snow covered, all this kind of stuff. And then we got told, me and my oppo were going to man pack a 50 cal. No one had ever man packed a 50 cal in a Bergen before at that altitude. So we were like
that's a lump, I know, isn't it?
Yeah,
at least 2 barrels, I'd imagine. Do you know what I mean?
We took because you had to change barrels quite often.
Yeah, of course you did, yeah.
So my Bergen was 185 pound. So there was only so much ammunition I could carry. So we worked out that our first rate of fire would be X amount of ammo. Then we went all to the Grav lads and the other troop and went, "Can you carry this ammo?" They're like, "I've got GPMG link. You want me to carry 50 cal?" Like, if you want some cover, mate, you're going to want to carry this. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we, I remember we got told the Yanks were like resting constantly. So we went up there with Yank SF and flew up. And I remember boarding the helo for the first time, and I've never seen blokes' eyes like it. Just looking at each other, numb. It's weird because now it's real.
Yeah.
You know that. I'd never experienced anything like that till that for its first time. And then walking off a helo, like I had to get pulled up, so I couldn't stand up on my own. So I had to get pulled off, stood up, and I waddled off the back of the helo. And as I walked off, and you make ready, that first feeling of making ready for real, it's not an exercise, and you start patrolling. And I've got a photo actually, as we turn around, the lads were like that. And you turn round, and the Chinook was hovering with its ramp just touching the ridge. And everyone was like, mate, that's hoofing. Like, it's just hovering like dead still. We all just disembarked it, walked up this ridge line, and we just knew we were walking towards this area where the American SF were last seen. And that was like, you know how, you know when you go on exercise and you're patrolling, you're turning your head and all, you're going through the motions, but when you're doing that for real for the first time, you're like that.
Yeah.
Like literally, if a blade of grass moved, I was like, do you know what I mean?
Right.
Like it was just your senses were so heightened.
So did you get them? Did you find them?
Yeah, we found the Chinook.
Yeah.
The Chinook was there. There was a dead bodies. There was a guy that was laying there with I think he had an RPK with a round through. There was a severed hand. The Chinook was there with a blood bag. And then we had to take up OPs on that area. And we stayed there for, I couldn't even remember now, maybe a week or so.
Really?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. We had to dig in OPs with the 50 cal, and we were watching, basically there was this huge valley, and they had pinpointed caves. So we had to do like full on like company assault into these caves. So we were dropping 50 cal into the caves, and then A10s were coming over, dropping into them.
That must have been mega.
Oh, mate.
That's
first
like,
time I'd ever seen them go, like watching watching the 50, like the A10s go over, like unloading the 50 cal, and we were hitting caves at 2.8k. We put the old air defense sight on the 50 cal.
Yeah.
Because the air was thinner and we had American grade ammo, so we had incendiary, armor piercing, and tracer round, and because it was better, it was going further. So me and my oppo were literally lifting the barrel up and just lobbing rounds. Yeah. And that, obviously 50 cal's accurate.
Yeah.
Do you mean lock that in, and we just letting rip into these caves and just demolishing caves. That was epic. And then watching the A10s go over for the first time, it's just, to be part of that, that was unreal. Yeah, unreal.
So that was obviously a success to a point with that first one. Where did you go from there? Did you go back into camp? Did you stay out there? How long were you out on this job for?
That job, I think we was out there for maybe a week or so, and then we'd come back for a short period of time. We rotated a lot. Yeah. I think in total we were out there for 7 months, and we didn't get any R&R. We didn't get told an end date to go home. It was just relentless, like going out on jobs.
Watch on, stop on.
Yeah, it was. You just become so accustomed to it.
So did you always go out in the 50 cal roll, or did you get out in this always in the 50 cal roll?
Yeah.
Okay.
We got me and my oppo. We started doing drills. 50 cal drills, and we were quick. We were together. Taff, bless his heart, good lad, and we were quick together. So we were out on the 50 cal all the time. Yeah, because it was such a good bit of kit to have.
It gives the people around you something.
It's
to say.
unreal, but it's just a shitter. Because every time we got resupplied food and water, we had to be resupplied new Bergens, because they were just ripping the Bergens. They're not designed to carry that weight, you know, and like lads are going down with like altitude sickness, heat exhaustion. It was brutal because of the terrain, like trying to navigate at night through the mountains in Afghan, like carrying a 50 cal. I mean, I let rip at my stripey once because it come back down the line that we were doing we got told it was like a rest. And we had this RSOP, me and my oppo, was just literally fall back. Because you couldn't take a knee. You can't take a knee with a 185-pound Bergen. Like you go and get back up again, especially if you're trying to be quick. So we just dropped like a turtle on your back, like flapping around. So we hit the deck, and I can remember I was exhausted, and he comes walking down the line. He's like whispering, trying to be quiet. He's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Resting." He's like, get on your fucking feet. I was like, he went into a nav check, not a fucking rest stop. I was like, I'm fucking hanging out. He's looked at me. I was like, oh, shit. You know, you just think, fuck, what should I? He was like, wait till we get back. So we got back. And then one of the lads that we were with that was carrying a lot of kit tripped over and smashed his head on a rock. So my stripey had to carry a lot of kit from his Bergen. So his Bergen got heavy. So then when we got back to camp, he came up to me and went, you shouldn't have gobbed off, but fair play to you because those Bergens are fucking heavy, stupidly heavy.
Yeah.
So that was our role for quite a long time. Yeah.
So 7 months out there. Any other stories of note out there, or? Not
really. No, to be honest, it was just a really surreal experience to work with American SF, to be part of all of that sort of experience as a young bloke. Do you know what I mean? It was just a really surreal thing, and I think it really hardens you to certain things. Like I remember it's still to this day, I think why it affects me. I remember ringing my dad. I was on the sat phone to him, and he was like, "How are things going?" I obviously couldn't say much, and then he goes, "Oh no!" And then you could hear it kick off behind. My dad was going, "What's going on?" And one of the lads ran up to me and went, "Aussie SAS have just been hit. We've got to go and help them." I went, "I've got to go, Dave. What happened? What happened?" I went, and he's old school, and I went, "Nothing. I've got to go." And he went, "Oh, I love you." And I went, "Yeah, cheers, Dad." Phone down. I didn't know how to respond to that. You need to switch off to that emotion. Do you know what I mean? And then years later, I started to develop this, what I got called as a disassociator. So I switch off the things if they become too much now.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it stems from that period when you weren't on comms all the time. We didn't have phones and all that. It was just the odd sat phone.
I remember my son phoning me up, and I was actually under contact in Gaza, and my son phoned me up. And he could hear it all go, "What's that, Dad? What's that banging?" And I'm like just wanting to put the phone down, but at the same time, I don't want to upset him. Do you know what I mean? It's a really weird thing, isn't it? Because you're like, this is not the time, mate. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's sad because when you listen to stories now, and you're as a dad now, and on the other side of it, I'd be like, "Oh, fuck that." If that was on the other,
mate. He's in the military now. He's a captain.
Oh, okay.
And if he was phoning me up and saying, "No, can't tell you, Dad, no," I'd be like, "What do you mean you can't tell me?"
Or the full debrief. It must be horrible. Like as a family man and a dad now, looking back on it, like seeing, like if I was on the other side of it now, that must be hard because OPSEC was so tight then. If someone got killed, no one knew. There was the until the family got told, and they'd shut the phones down. There was phones in there, and you'd finally ring home, and then they'd be like, "Hello," no, go, "It's Glynn." They're like, "Oh my God, we heard on the radio that someone from 4-5 has been killed." You're like, "No, it's not me." "Well, we've been shitting it for 2 weeks." Like, "Sorry, I couldn't do anything."
Yeah, it's horrible.
It must have been horrible.
It's honking.
Like genuinely,
honking for families and stuff like that. It really is.
Yeah, very bad. Yeah. So it was an eye opener, and then coming back from that I didn't decompress well from that at all. I don't think.
No.
And because we flew back into Glasgow Prestwick, and I had no family meet me, and there was loads of people. There were banners and all this kind of shit. And I walked straight through the airport. Lads said they'll take my kit back home. I went straight through the airport, picked up a connecting flight, flew straight back to Stansted because I lived in Dunbar at the time with my mum.
Yeah.
Got a taxi, just went home. She just went, "All right." I was like, "Yeah."
It's a weird one. That is weird, isn't it? When you come straight from something like that. I come back from Sierra Leone and I'm sat in my front room. My mate comes around. He's like, "You're right." I'm like, "Yeah." And the missus is going, "Right, you need to put the bins out." Really? Nah.
Your head can't compute that.
You're in a totally different place, aren't you? A different space with different rules, different laws.
You just build
all gone.
I don't know about you, and I know I've spoke to other guys that felt the same, but you build up this underlying resentment towards people, like going out on the piss. Lads, "Oh, come out, I'll go out." Stand in a nightclub and just look at people and just think, "You've got no idea what I've been doing for the last 7 months."
Yeah.
It's not their fault.
No, it's not their fault.
It's not their fault.
No.
Of course they have fault.
I used to find it sat in traffic.
Really?
You'd come home from somewhere and you'd be sat in traffic. You'd be thinking, "Why don't you just get out of my fucking way?"
Yeah.
Why are you sat there now? Why do you have to be there today? You've had all last week to sit there, and now you're in my fucking way. Do you know?
I know. Yeah. But I just don't. I don't know what it's like now. Whether they deal with that better, but that was never. That was never dealt with very well, I don't think. Do you know what I mean?
I think they're learning from it still today. Do you know what I mean? It's got to be, because that's the sorts of things, that's the prelude to PTSD and all that sort of stuff, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's obvious there's something going on in you, because that ain't normal, is it?
No,
Do you know what I mean?
not.
That's not right behaviour, is it?
No, you're 18 years old, a year before you're,
and
scratching
you're
your own
resenting people in pubs.
I know, that's what I'm...
Don't like you, son.
Yeah,
I just don't. You're a cunt.
I mean, someone looks at you funny, you just stare at them, like you just have a 1,000-yard stare. I fell out with my dad for many years because of it. He said you was horrible. You know, and I'm like, you know, I'm sorry, but I never knew. Like, no one said to me, like, you're right. It wasn't a thing back then. Do you know what I mean? This is what, 2002, whatever it was.
No, that's right.
It wasn't a
That's
thing
right. It wasn't
back
really
then.
being recognised, was it? Although it should have been, because, you know, it's been a problem throughout the military for years and years and years. It just gets labelled different stuff every time, doesn't it?
Yeah, but I just think it's that old school mentality, isn't it? When we deployed, when I was at 14, we deployed to Iraq. One of the lads that was on a previous tour of Iraq got blown up by an ID, and he left a note on his bed and went, sorry, lads, I'm not going back out. He literally went AWOL. And lads are like, do you know where he's gone? It's like, no, he's legged it. And we all just laughed. We're like, fucking pussy. Like, boofer, like that, giving him shit. But deep down, he don't want to go back. He's been blown up once. He don't want to risk it again.
Yeah.
But no one ever sat down and actually thought, maybe he's just struggling, because that wasn't their mentality. It was just suck it up and crack on, wasn't it?
It goes against the grain. It goes against. So after that tour, you go back to Arbroath?
Yeah, went back to Arbroath, and then I actually tried to put in for a commando display team.
Okay.
I felt like, I don't know what it was, I was pretty young, I'd done one tour, but I think it was just a lot of it. That was physically the hardest thing I've ever done, without doubt, that tour. And I think it just took it out of me. So I put in a draft trying to get onto commando display team. I thought, yeah, I don't mind abseiling out of helicopters and going out on the piss and meeting chicks.
Going to football stadium.
That's what I mean, handing the rugby ball.
Giving it the large.
That's what I mean, just getting jacked.
On that around my body.
I'll do some of that. I got denied it. I was like, what? I was like, and one of the lads in my unit had been, he did recruitment for about 6 months. And he was like, if you put in for careers office draft, they give you, I was only a Marine, obviously, they give you a corporal's wage, they give you an apartment, they give you all this extra money, and you go around college, university, get pissed up for 6 months, and you come back to a unit. I was like, I don't mind a bit of that downtime. So I put in for that, and I got it. And I got, because I was in Essex, they said, you can't have anywhere apart from Ipswich. And I was like, what's in Ipswich? They went, loads of universities and colleges. I was like, I'll have some of that. So I put in for that, and I got it. And I went down there, and they gave me, I got my wages bumped up to a corporal. So at the time, I was just like, I'm creaming it money-wise. Had no outgoings. They got me a flat in the same building with all the Ipswich Town football players. I was like, this is laughing. I'm enjoying this. Went round colleges, universities, and giving lectures and talking to people, doing phys for like taking kids. Then I started putting young lads through PRMC. And we used to have this pull-up bar in the careers office, and I wasn't a PTI. So, you know, typical military, they're like, you're not allowed to make people do phys because you're not a PTI. And I was like, well, I can make a bloke do pull-ups in a pull-up. So lads would walk into the careers office and go, want to join the Marines? I'm like, up you go. They're like, what do you mean? It's like, well, do pull-ups then. I was ruthless. Because I thought, if I'm going to send you down to Lympstone with my name on a piece of paper, I want you to go down prepared. Jump up. They're like, no. I'm like, well, fuck off then. I was horrible. So we was like, I was really brutal. So the army downstairs, the army lads downstairs used to have a bet on how many lads would come back the next day to come and see me, because they'd walk out the door going, oh, what was that all about? I'm like, listen, if you can't do pull-ups, at least show me you're going to give it a go. Then don't bother coming back in. So they'd do that. And then I'd say to them, right, now come in next week. Don't bother with any paperwork. Come in next week with your phys rig. They're like, why? I'm like, just come in with your phys rig next week. Half of them didn't turn up. If they did, I used to put I had this green T-shirt with Royal Marines Commando and bright yellow in the back of it, like this recruitment T-shirt. And I'd say to them, I'd walk out the front door. They had their rig on. I'm like, you ready? They're like, yeah, what we doing? Like, keep up with me. And I was, because I'd come back from Afghan, I was a bit of a phys ninja at this point, running-wise. And I used to run up this horrible hill into Ipswich Town, through the town, over to this massive park. And anybody that knows this park's a really steep hill, I'd bolt it up this hill. Get to the top of the hill, most of the time they wouldn't make it. So I'd go back to the careers office, I'd walk in downstairs, the army lads are like, he's wrapped, he's gone. And then like paying each other off money, because like, who was going to bet who was going to come back. My attitude was, if they at least attempted to stick with me to get to the top of that hill, I'd walk downstairs, I'd sign them up. That was my attitude. And that's what I did.
If they wrap their tits in, then just
what's the point?
Pointless.
You ain't going to handle 4-day PRMC, you're not going to handle 9 months of hell, are you?
No.
Well, if you can't just run up a hill behind me. Like, where's your mindset? That was maybe my attitude was a bit strong because I've just come back from tour. But that's where I was at the time.
That's where you are, isn't it? But you're staring at civvies in pubs on the film. Why are you any different, Crowback?
I know. So I got all these lads, and I remember sponsoring this particular school. We got some money through the Navy to sponsor their climbing wall, to extend their climbing wall. I remember saying to them, can I put some lads through a PRMC, like a makeshift PRMC? They're like, if you want. So I did this makeshift PRMC, got 12 lads together. And I literally scored them, stood in front of them, yes, no, sent loads of lads down to to selection. And I was in the Navy News for having the highest pass rate from any one PRMC from one careers office. And the reason is because I gave them some of my time.
Yeah.
And that was it. And that's what hooked me into wanting to train people. Because I thought, if I can take these 16-year-old lads and train them up to become bootnicks.
Yeah.
And I'd not train them up, but, you know, at least start their journey.
Get them on the first step of their career.
What can you do to a civvy if you have loads of time?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And then I remember when I come back from Iraq, this lad walked into my grot.
So was that your second tour, Iraq? Was it?
Yeah. So then we got deployed. So I went to, after I did that in the careers office, got sent to 40 Commando.
Which was where you wanted to be anyway. Was it 40 or 42?
40. I wanted
you wanted to go to 40, yeah?
Yeah. Sunshine Unit, honestly, best time. That was to be honest, I wish I'd never left when I did that because they were great lads.
Yeah.
Like, brilliant lads. I was in, it's known as a bit of a golden era of Bravo Company. So I was in at the similar time. I think Staz and Louis through Dark, they joined when I was about leaving.
Okay.
Yeah, Joe Bates who went Paul, you had Ant Middleton, you had loads of lads, Martin Stapleton.
Yeah.
Like, it was a good bunch in Bravo. It was a solid bunch of blokes. So then we went to Iraq.
But they were joining then knowing they were going to war as well. So you were getting some solid characters. I mean, it wasn't.
It was just a good attitude. Yeah. It was a good atmosphere at Bravo that time. Everyone had a good laugh. The piss-ups were good. There was nothing OTT about it, not like 4-5. It was just a really good time. And then I got mega threaders at one point, so I put my chit in. I'd had enough.
Is this during the Iraq tour, is it?
No, it's before. So, long story short, a civvy mate of mine died playing football. He got kneed in the head. It's like random. He was playing goal. He got kneed in the temple. He stood up, cracked his skull, killed over dead on the pitch.
Jeez.
And one of my mates rang me up and said, Ryan's passed away. I was like, what's I was like, car accident. I thought, car accident, it's got to be car accident. He's like, no, football. And I couldn't get my head round it because I thought, I've been through that. You're in insurance. How the hell have you just died? It's just something in my head that couldn't get my head round it. Went up to my Sergeant Major, said, can I go to his funeral? It's on Friday. He's like, is he next to kin? I was like, no, you ain't going then. I was like, why not? He went, well, he's not next to kin. Like, but it's on a Friday. We go home Friday anyway. He's like, don't matter. I was fuming. I was like, genuinely, I was like, I can't go to a mate's funeral. This is ridiculous. I was like, what are we doing that day, sir? And he's like, we've got Dunker drills at Yeovil. I was like, don't mind missing that. Do you know what I mean?
It's honking.
And he was just like, he's like, no, you're not going. And then I got called back in. He said, I'll tell you what, if you could get his obituary sent to me by fax, I might let you go. I'm thinking, there's some hoops I'm jumping through here, aren't I? So I had to ring up his mum and dad, and I got this letter sent through with Ryan's photo. It was horrible. Faxed
I mean, that alone, to ask somebody for that, to justify, it's just...
I know, mate.
They must have thought, what a bunch of tits you
I know,
were. Do you know what I mean?
I know. And it just didn't sit well with me.
Yeah.
You know, and so anyway, I went in there and said, sir, have you received it? And he went, no, I've not received it. And I went, all right. They said it's gone through. And they went, this is fax. Back then, he's like, not got it. So I've gone out. He's called me back and he went, Glynn Roberts. He goes, was it a piece of paper with a photo on it? I went, yeah. And he went, I thought it was a dating agency letter and I threw it in the bin. I went, you fucking what? And he went, wind your neck in. I just thought you're taking a piss. He went, oh, yeah, you can go then. So I went to the funeral. Turned up the next day, Monday, have that. Put my chit in.
Really?
Yeah, I was fuming.
Do you know what? And it is so annoying that one person being a dick has actually more or less... Is that the decision you stuck with that ended your career?
Yeah.
I mean, that's sad to me. That really is... That's just honking. Do you know what I mean?
And it's something that I really struggled with for many years because it's like, you know, they say you shouldn't live with regrets, but one of my regrets is not staying... I still, to this day, feel like I could have done more.
Well, you were getting operational tours up the yin yang, weren't you?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It was belt fed, wasn't it? You were everything, you know. I could have taken my shit out, but to be honest, we got deployed to Iraq. He tried to fuck me over yet again, tried to stick me as a dog handler in a prison in BASRA. And I was like, why you put me there? He put me into that job. And he said, because you got your chit in. I was like, if I'm going back out on tour, I want to be with my blokes. I was one of the most senior guys in tanks at this time. I was like, this is ridiculous. So my boss, sound bloke, like mega sound bloke. And he was like, I'm not losing you. So he went back in there and like basically had a word and was like, I'm not losing Glynn. Like, this ain't happening. And I thankfully I didn't. I went on tour with the lads rather than being...
Yeah, in yes and no. It was a good tour because the lads I was with, like honestly, mate, they were hoofing. They were great blokes. As in, like nerves and anxiety was probably the worst one out of both of them.
In what way?
Because the rules of engagement were so different.
Okay.
Like you couldn't return fire unless those fuckers were still pointing a weapon at you. It was like that.
So whereabouts in Iraq were you?
What was a massive camp that was there?
Bastion?
No, was it a Bastion? Yeah, Bastion. Yeah,
Bastion. Was one of the big ones, wasn't it?
Yeah. So we were there, and it was.
What sort of taskings were you getting?
Loads of convoys.
So the convoys were
loads
honking,
of convoy shit going into BASRA a lot.
Yeah.
In Wimixes, which was like there's no armour on a fucking Wimix, and we were doing a lot of anti-insurgency of like stopping vehicles bringing weapons across the border.
Yeah.
So we were doing a lot of night jobs on that. That was quite good. That was interesting. But I think the reason I say it was the most nerve-wracking one was because you're driving into somewhere like BASRA, and then it's just crack thump, and you're just like, where the fuck's that coming from?
Yeah.
You just didn't know because it was such a built-up city. They used to say to you, never let a vehicle come between you and another vehicle because it's an ID threat.
And it's in and out, in and out.
Do you know how many fucking vehicles used to come in between you? Do you know what I mean?
Blocking every last vehicle.
Just constantly, you're putting your weapon up at them. They just look at you like, what? And you're like, well, they're not bothered. There's a weapon in his face. He doesn't give a shit, does he?
No.
What am I supposed to do? Drill every bloke that comes in between us? And it was like that every single time. Do you know what I mean? I think every time we drove out the camp gate, I shit myself.
Yeah.
Because that was nerve-wracking because you had one entrance, one exit.
Yeah, plus the IED thing was huge at that time as well.
Oh, mate, like that was bad.
They were honking IEDs as well, weren't they?
There was one particular incident, I talked through this incident with Rock's Recovery when I went through my journey with them. And there was this one, I was rear vehicle. We was in a snatch, where the useless snatches were anyway. And I was top cover with this lad. And we went through this village called Alkerna. And as we were coming through, it was notorious for being an ambush. Every time we went through it, you'd get in an ambush. And the day before that, the lad I was in top cover with been hit by an IED. So as we come over the radio, stand by, we come into Alkerna, he sat down. What the fuck are you doing? He's only a young lad, like young spoiled lad. I was like, what are you doing? He's like, I ain't going, not stand up. I was like, mate, stand up. He's like, no, I'm stand up. I was like, get up. He's like, I ain't stand up. Shit himself. He's gone. His brain gone.
Yeah.
I was like, fucking here we go. It's just me then, is it? So I'm rear vehicle, looking around. And you know, like a combat indicator. So there's all these cars driving down the main road. And as we're driving into Alkerna, all the traffic stopped. Literally stopped dead. And I'm just
now you're the tumbleweed.
And I'm just like going,
yeah.
And I'm the rear vehicle looking out the back, and this car comes weaving through, and it literally gives me sweaty palms back now. He comes weaving through all this traffic and stopped the traffic. Got out comes his phone. My ass went, I thought, that's us. He's calling it in. I was like, all right. So he got back in the car and he did this big dog leg, went all the way around and stopped in this side road. He just watched us, got on his phone. And I remember standing there thinking, we're not getting an ambush because we're not fully into the village yet, but it's going to be an ID because it's known for it. So this is mental what goes through your head. I remember thinking, I had those old flak jackets on with the stupid little plate, right?
Yeah.
I remember thinking,
if I
tuck my arms in like this, at least my arms might stay on. And I remember driving around thinking, it's going to be this side of the road, the ID is going to be. And I'm looking and I'm tucking my arms in. And turning the back of the flak jacket to it like that, watching that bloke, watching him on the comms, telling him what they're doing, just thinking, well, if it goes off, at least maybe the flak jacket, I might save my arms. Nothing happened. So we get to the end point where our destination, and because of the threat, they needed to send people back down to check the road. They sent them back down. There were 5 120 shells on a daisy chain effect, all linked together that we drove straight past. But the fuse had come out the first one. So they believe that they tried to set it off because the fuse had come out. It hadn't gone bomb, bomb,
and
bomb,
mate, he's
bomb,
on
bomb.
the phone. He's been sent down and go, what's going on?
Why is it not going off? And they didn't. Yeah, and they didn't set off all of them.
Wow, lady luck.
Lady luck, mate.
Yeah,
and I think that's why Iraq was worse because it was like that. You're just chancing your arm all the time. Do you know what I mean? Like that was arse.
All that stuff around the green zone. Once you came out of the green zone, it was a lottery, wasn't it? Do you know what I mean? All those, even on some of the approaches in and out, it was. I went in and out all the time. It was just honking.
Well, every road that went in and out of camp was known. Oh, this is called IED alley. You're like, every main road's called IED alley. Do you know what I mean? Because every time you go out of there.
Yeah.
But we had a good time. Like we got into some shit as well because we went to BASRA Palace, and I've got some great thoughts of BASRA Palace. And we were so bored on one tour, we ran up to the top of BASRA Palace, got completely naked. There's a load of blokes just stood on the top of BASRA Palace naked. I've got all the photos for it, and it's hilarious. And we come back through, and all of these, like, I don't know, I guess they're intelligence, and all these guys in like HQ just looking at us going, fucking bootnecks. It's just a good bunch of lads. A good bunch of lads.
So did you get out almost as soon as you come back from that tour?
So I became a civvy whilst on tour, and that is what, when my life spiraled downhill, because I had zero decompression. So my sergeant major come up to me and went, you go home tomorrow? I went, what do you mean? He goes, you go home tomorrow? You're going civvy. I was like, what do you mean I go home tomorrow? And he went, pack your kit up because you're going home. You got your leave, post-operational tour leave, and your TX date is XYZ, whatever it was.
Wow.
I was like, hang on a minute. That's weird. Packed all my kit up. And initially I was a bit like, I'm getting out of this shithole. Lads come out and say goodbye. And it was, I look back on it now, and what an emotional thing, because lads are like hugging me saying bye. So I flew home, landed at 40 Commando, just went, there was like some sprog officer that I met. He's like, give us your ID card, there's your certificate, go hand your kit in, thanks for your service. I was like, yeah, where's my party? Yeah, at least give me a shot of port. Like, nothing. That was it, handshake. Got in my car, drove out the camp gates. I remember driving there, as you get out at 40 Command, just sat there and just thought, that can't be it. Like, literally 12 hours ago, I was just patrolling BASRA, and now I'm civvy.
Now I'm Joe Blogs.
Now what do I do?
Yeah.
And that I didn't.
So what did you do?
Got pissed. I had 12 weeks leave. Got 12 weeks leave. I fell out with my old man. He's like, he said to me, you're going to be a bum if you don't have a job. And I was just like, yeah, fuck off, Dad. Like, me and Dad are tight now, but back then it was like, I just didn't know what to do with myself. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So I did the classic that everyone was doing back then, wanted to go and do CP. Yeah. Because we saw a lad that was at 40 at the time. He was out there on a private contract, rocked up in an armoured Toyota. He was like, right, lads, we're like, his name was Greg. We're like, what the fuck are you doing here? He went, earning more money than you. We were like, on 40 quid a day, and he's like 400 quid a day. We're like, so lads were putting their chits in left, right, and centre. Yeah, it was. Do you know, it was crap though, wasn't it? Do you know what I mean? It was the circus, not the circuit. Yeah, yeah. It was ridiculous. And but the problem is, the money was so high at the time, and I went to do
what it could be, but it wasn't for everybody.
No, it wasn't.
And the other thing the blokes didn't realise was you had to make that. If you was doing 6 on 6 off, that money is already halved, doesn't it? Yeah, because you're not getting paid every day. Yeah.
And you couldn't go home for an X amount of time because the tax man's going to hit you, so you have to fuck off to some foreign country somewhere.
Yeah. So everybody's got to Thailand. They've done the bollocks in Thailand. They've got to go back to work to go on the next holiday.
And everyone that I knew that got on the circuit got caught up in it, because every time they try to come off it, oh, do you want this job for a month? It's only 10 grand a month. They're like, oh, okay, well, I'll go back out and do it again. And it was just a circle, do you know what I mean? And so when I went and did my COs, they said, whatever you do, don't tell him you're going to leave to go CP, because he won't sign you out. The blokes are leaving. There's too many blokes leaving to do it. So I was like, I'm going to go and be a personal trainer. And he was like, well, I'll put you on the next PTI course. I was like, no, you're right. So I left and I went to go, I think it was, I can't remember, the Phoenix, was it the Phoenix course?
Yeah, it was the Phoenix
course. The Phoenix got Hereford.
Yeah.
So I went and did the induction up on that.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because they got us in this room and they said, all badge blokes, bootnecks, and paras, minimum 2 tours, stay in that room. Everyone else go in there. So he shimmied everybody out, and there was a handful left. And they went, when all of you pass this course, you will get a job straight away because your experience and your background. I was like, fucking touch. So I signed up for the course, never done it, because I ended up becoming a PT instead of all the things. Ended up becoming a PT. And I think what it was my best mate, my business partner now, he was like, you've got such a passion for phys. Yeah. And you just you'd be really good at it. And I remember that moment when I helped those lads, do you know what I mean? Get in. And when I was packing my kit up at 40 to leave, a lad walked into the grot and he went to me, hi Glynn, do you remember me? I was like, no. And he went, I'm so-and-so. And I'm sorry, mate, I don't know who you are. And he went, I was one of the lads from that careers office job from the 12 that went down there. And he shook my hand. He went, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have this. And I stared at him and I was like, oh, that's quite a good feeling, isn't it? Yeah. Like, selfishly, I was like,
yeah. No, it's a great feeling helping people out like that.
And then I kind of went to go that way and ended up going the other way.
So you say you become a PT. What did that entail? Where did you go? What did you do?
I did a course down in Tottenham Court Road for the through the YMCA. Yeah. What a shit course that was. Like, it was an open book test. You know, it was like I'd just come back from tour. I had no academic skills at this point. Like, I was sitting in this classroom and the lecturer was giving lectures and the guy next to me is fresh from university saying, you you should be taking notes. And I was like, oh, should I fuck? I had no pen or paper. I was just sitting there just staring at him with my arms folded like that. And they'd say, right, if you'd like to go home tonight, you need to write up a program for like an upper body routine or whatever it might be, and then come in tomorrow and we'll assess you. And I was like, yeah, cheers. Went home and got shiters. Turn up the next day, and they'd be like, right, Glynn, have you done your program? I'm like, yeah, hadn't done anything. They're like, right, if you'd like to go and train Lee over there or whoever, take him into the gym and we'll assess you on your program. I'd cuff it with no problem. They were like, that's an excellent program. Can you hand it in later? So I'd then just go and write down what I did. And that's how I got through the course.
Complete blag, basically.
I was better, not at winging it, but I'm better on the spot rather than trying to sit there.
I think if your subject matter is that you don't have to worry about that, it can just come out of you. Do you know what I mean? So if I'm sitting there talking about something I know about, boom, out it comes.
Yeah, absolutely.
If I'm trying to blag me away, I'm like,
but it comes out, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where did you find employment after you got this PT stuff? Did you go straight into a gym?
No. So the first job I did was an abseiling job, like random job. I just saw it in the job centre, and it was actually a company owned by an ex-para, and he was basically confined spaces, high stuff, oxygen mask, gas mask, all that kind of shit. Cleaning like
windows, tanks,
cement towers, like ISO containers, Nestle factory, these huge towers. And I was like, well, I can hang off a rope, and I'm physically fit. So I rang him up, and he was like, what's your background? As soon as I said boot neck, he was like, got a job. Didn't even get an interview. He was like, I'll pick you up tomorrow. I got a job because I didn't know he was an ex-para. And so we got on really well. And the job was horrendous. It was shit, but I was good at it. I could climb. I was fit. This fucking oxygen mark tanks hanging off, like cleaning these huge ISO containers. But I did that, and I had this. Not really. No. Not for what it was. Not for what it was. No, it was long hours. Do you know what I mean? But do you know the thing? I liked it because I like the physical side of it. Like they'd say, you'd get to this massive job. It was at a Nestle factory, and these lads that had been doing the job for a few years. This tower was absolutely massive, and they went, no one's ever got to the bottom and cleaned it out and got to the top without stopping. Like, watch me climb up on a I can't remember what it's called now. When you just step up and back down again. I went, I'll get to the top without stopping. They went, no one's done it. You got mask on, tank hanging off you. I was like, I'll do it. And I got to the top, and I was hanging, but I said I'd done it. I was getting all around these civvy blokes. I was like, there's no way I'm not getting to the top of that without. Got out, sweat pouring off me. I was like, oh, fucking, it's horrendous. So I did that, and at the same time I was doing that, I started my boot camp, outdoor training. Okay. And I started doing the two at the same time.
And how did that come about? Just literally you thought, because the boot camp Essex thing now, for me, what a great place to have started it. Because it was fashionable, wasn't it? Yeah. It became a fashion. Boot camps became fashionable. Yeah. And that became a fashionable area. So you've sort of like, you've hit the sweet spot with another sweet spot, haven't you?
Yeah. Yeah. It wasn't at the time, because I'd put out an advert saying, because we were just called boot camp, former Royal Marine. People were like, no chance. That sounds like hell. This is before, this is before obstacle course races and all CrossFit and all of that was big.
So you had all this tough mudder stuff which was in the pipeline then, didn't you?
Yeah, so the original one was Tough Guy. That was the original OCR race. And that was the only one around, I believe, at the time. So everyone was like, what? So you want me to pay you to be shouted at in winter? And I started it in December of all times. And they were like, no chance. And I just struggled to get members. But there was part of me that believed if I could do something a little bit different and not focus on the physical aspect, but the mental aspect, I might be on to a winner here. Because bottom field, all that crap you go through for Lympston and, you know, and selection, all that is all mindset. Yeah. It's not physical. So, and I just kept saying to myself, if I could get these people to come over and I'll make them do a task, which is what they think's beyond their capability, when they complete it, because they will, because I'll make them, the sense of achievement they will have when they finish will be huge. Yeah. And that's all it was. And it was simple things, just like, you know, a 48-year-old housewife rock up and go, put that tie around your waist and run around that field, and you've got 30 seconds to do it. And they're like, well, I can't. It's like, you will. But it was tapping into that mindset. Yeah. And that's kind of where it all flowed from, really. And it was hard at first, but then just went from there.
So now, how many? You've got quite a few places.
Yeah, there's 27 locations across Essex. Got one in London. Built it up. We had 4 members. Now we've got, I don't know what the active membership base is now. It's like quite a lot. You know, it was just me originally. Then my business partner Jim came on. We were chalk and cheese, a sports scientist. So like when he first started doing it, it was all like these star jumps and all. I'm like screaming at people getting into puddles and stuff. He's like, Glynn, you can't do that. There's civvies. I'm like, watch me, I fucking can. I like and once our membership started to build up, I went down to Lympston to the core boxing championships. And I got chatting to
I've
a
just
couple
been this year.
Oh, have you?
Yeah,
I went down there. It's good.
Night
It's
out.
great, isn't it?
Yeah, love it.
And I went down there and I saw a few old oppos of mine. I was like, do you reckon I could get civvies in to Lympstone? They were like, no chance. Like, it wasn't not done back then. This is what, 07, maybe 08, something like that. They were like, no chance. And I was like, well, I'm going to go speak to someone at HQ. So I went and spoke to some officer in HQ, and they were like, quite accommodating. They were like, what do you want to do? Well, I just want to bring, say, 30 people down, stay on Lympstone. Da, da, da. They were like, well, write us a programme, and we'll send you a cost. I was thinking, oh, here we go, 200 grand bill come through. And it was only like a few grand. Like, they were like 4 days. I wrote the whole programme. They did the old SAT ranges, the bottom field endurance course, the whole works.
Yeah, nice.
Fed at Lympstone. So I got and that kind of like, and my business partner, I was like, you're doing it. And he went, I ain't doing that. I went, Jim, listen. I went, if you're going to go into business with me, you've got to understand a small snippet of what I'm talking about. Being on the shitty end of a stick, a real shitty stick. He's like, all right, I'll do it. And he was a fit lad, so he'd done it, and it changed his mindset. And he still talks about it to this day, like how the PTIs would control everybody in that gym. No, if you sweat, you don't touch it. Do you know what I mean? That discipline. And it changed his mindset of how to train people outside. And that's kind of how we then pushed forward, because it was all about changing someone's mindset first.
No, it's good stuff. Really good stuff.
Yeah.
So, future-wise, what are your plans? What are you up to?
At the moment, we're just still kind of like trying to keep pushing on to doing what we're doing.
Spinning
really.
the plate and just...
Yeah, just spinning the plates. Like everything's so online at the moment.
Yeah.
You know, and we love face to face.
About too much, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
Because COVID did. I mean, I was over in Spain at the time. I ended up having to come home. You know what I mean? I was on the brink of losing everything. It really did.
Yeah, because it was all this crap of social distancing and all this. And I was very kind of like going to my business partner, this bollocks, I'm cracking on. He's like, mate, if someone takes a photo and plasts it on social media, we'll be... And I was just like, oh, what a crock of rubbish.
Because I was doing so much stuff on social media, I couldn't even afford for my missus to cut my hair in case people thought
I know.
he's gone to the barber's.
It was mental.
So I just left it. Do you know what I mean?
I couldn't deal with it, mate.
Insane, isn't it?
I couldn't deal with it. So I played the game with it, and then eventually they were like 2 people could join, all this kind of... And then... So we come up with this plan. We developed this app, and it was like... we called it waypoint workout. So what we would do, we would upload a map of the area and put basically like points. And we would upload the location, put points on the map and go, when you get point A, you're going to do this workout, point B, point C, and all that. Yeah. And it would be uploaded to their phone. And that's how we got around it. And it worked a fucking treat. So we come out of lockdown doing all right. And then the whole online thing has become massive. And not so much face-to-face.
You start podcasting, everybody was doing podcasting. So everything I was trying to get into, and everything that sounds like you were trying to get into, everybody was getting into. Workouts at home, buying their own gear, buying their own bands, and you know, working out from a shoebox and all that sort of stuff. It was all massive,
I quite struggle with that online stuff, because I get a kick out of watching someone face to face. I love seeing someone improve physically and being part of that journey. Yeah. And it's different when it's online. So online, the whole online thing now is made a difference. But we're doing good. Like we have such a loyal membership base. Our trainers are excellent. We've done all sorts of corporate stuff in Scotland, London. We've done massive festivals.
Yeah, good.
You know, the corporate stuff is probably the thing we want to get into the most. But we just enjoy training people. Like, we genuinely have a passion for training people and watching them.
And you're doing quite a bit of the mindset stuff as well, aren't you? So it's not just, you know, you're helping out with mental health, aren't you?
Yeah, I think that because of my journey, like, that's a big part for me. Like, helping people with that journey of mental health. And I've got a big thing about, and I'm not taking this away for women, blokes' mental health at the moment, because blokes don't want to talk about it.
No, you're 100% right. I get it.
I've seen city guys struggling, you know, like, and I call it so I try and talk, when I've given talks to like companies, I talk about decompression, and I just relate to when I left and I didn't decompress. Yeah. And I always say, it doesn't matter if you're a housewife or you're a veteran, like, what your brain doesn't understand the difference in the stress levels. It understands stress. Yeah. It's simple as that. So someone's stress levels could be getting the kids ready, getting them to school on time, and getting to work. And some people in their life, that is fucking hell on earth. I've got 4 kids. So getting them all dressed.
I've got grandkids, mate. That's hell on earth for me, mate. I'm telling you, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Send me back to Afghan any day. But that's, for some people, that's hard work. But then they go to work, then they're getting told what to do. What is that person doing to decompress from all of that stress? Yeah. A lot of people, not a lot. And that's what I try to say to people now. Like, it doesn't matter whether you're a veteran or whatever it might be, you need an outlet, because you know, a really good analogy is like emotions are like a bottle of Coke. If you shake that the shit out of it, it's going to blow.
Yeah.
But if you can undo that cap very gently, it's going to very slowly depressurize,
and you'll get in there.
And that's emotion at the end of the day.
You do a bit for charity?
Yeah, we've done quite a lot for Rock to Recovery.
I like Rock to Recovery.
Yeah,
great charity.
they're brilliant.
Great charity. I've done a couple of bits and pieces.
Yeah, they're so supportive.
Yeah.
And you know, I feel like I've cost them a lot of money in my personal journey. So like, what can we do back? So every year I run an event called Marine Mayhem, and it only started off small. And we get like hundreds of people there now, and people just turn up, and it's like a 4-hour thrashing. Brilliant. I get loads of bootnecks together.
We'll certainly help you promote that on here.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Like they all stick their lids on. We all go and have dinner, and then we just go and thrash loads of civvies, and we hammer them, and they love it because it all goes to charity.
What's not to love about that?
Exactly. And they used to say years ago, civvies would pay thousands for this.
Yeah.
Well,
and they do.
They do.
They do. It's pucker, isn't it? Pucker Jen.
Yeah, I know. But giving back to charity and that to me is important because they've done a lot for me. They do a lot for veterans now, and I think it's so important because they don't make the money otherwise. It goes with a lot of charities.
No, and everybody. They're in a massive pool competing with a lot of people for the same sort of like dollar as well, aren't they? Do you know what I mean? So it does make it difficult.
Yeah,
it's a difficult space.
100%. And the thing is, I've seen it firsthand.
Yeah.
I've seen it. I've been there. I've sat in front of the coaches. I've had them when I've been really down and really on my arse. I've had them ringing me.
Yeah.
I've had them trying to get hold of me. I've had people knocking on my door. And to see that veteran support, to me, is like, it's kind of brought me back a bit closer to the military than I should be, I guess, because I've been out a long time now. But I think that support's so important. You know, lads talking to other lads. Like I didn't talk about stuff for years, and it wasn't until I was out on the piss once, and I ended up getting a bit emotional, spinning some dits with some lads, and the lad I was talking to had actually been hit by an ID in the face. And I was kind of like, I was like, what right have I got to be dripping? And he's been blown up. Like, I've got arms and legs. Come on, get a grip of yourself.
Yeah.
He was brilliant. He pulled me to the side. He just put his arm around me, his ex-bootneck. Dean, he knows who it is. And he gave me a cuddle, and he just went, don't worry about it. Just let it out. We're all the same. And it was like, fuck. That to me was a massive turning point. To then go like, okay, maybe I shouldn't hold this shit in. Maybe I should go and talk about it.
No, I think you're right. I think you've got to talk about it. It took me a long time to talk about the stuff that I needed to talk about, which I do now freely and openly to anybody. I don't care anymore. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think if you're holding it in, if you don't talk about it, you're discouraging other people from talking about it as well. And so therefore, you know, the more we can talk about it, the more we can make it normal, the more people will be helped by it. Listen, we're hoping that we're creating a community here at Force Radio. We're hoping that you'll be part of it now. Awesome. Come along on the journey. We'll support you where we can. And seriously, hoofing having you. Right?
Absolute pleasure, big man. Honour.
Cheers,
Honour to
buddy.
meet you. Honour to meet you.
Nice one.